LeBron James is like a godfather or an uncle. I'm sure you can relate, Unc. He's like a godfather or an uncle to most of the damn players. Michael Jordan was playing. You know this. Was it not Michael Jordan and everybody else? Did everybody not know it was Michael Jordan?
LeBron James is a legend. That is not up for debate. With 4 championships, multiple MVPs, and over 2 decades of dominance, his resume speaks volumes. But there's another name that echoes even louder across basketball history: Michael Jordan. Stephen A. Smith, one of the most respected voices in sports commentary, recently reignited this debate with a powerful breakdown of what separates the two icons. And his message was clear: Jordan wasn't just respected, he was feared. Today on NBA Showdown, we are diving into Stephen A.'s powerful analysis on why LeBron, despite his greatness, can never reach Jordan's throne. So whether you're Team LeBron or Team MJ, prepare yourself, because this video will lay out every reason why Michael Jordan remains the standard, the legend others only dream of becoming. Stick around until the end, because this isn't just about stats. This is about legacy, perception, and the psychological gap between greatness and invincibility. Before we begin, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to NBA Showdown, and turn on the notifications so you never miss a GOAT-level discussion. Now let's get into it. Stephen A. Smith starts by describing LeBron James as more of a godfather or an uncle figure to the modern NBA player. This characterization is telling. LeBron is beloved, approachable, and looked up to by today's athletes, not just for his basketball prowess, but for his influence off the court. He's become a cultural leader, a business mogul, and a philanthropist. But therein lies the difference. Jordan, while admired, did not foster relationships in the same way. He was isolated in his greatness, and that separation bred a type of fear and mystique. Players today train with LeBron in the offseason, they admire his endurance, and they seek his mentorship. But nobody dared approach Jordan like that in his playing days. He was unapproachable because he demanded excellence in a way that made his teammates either rise or fall. His presence was intimidating. LeBron, by contrast, cultivates camaraderie. While that says a lot about his character, it also shifts how he's perceived competitively. Stephen A. is making a distinction between being feared and being liked. And in that light, LeBron's image, however legendary, falls short of the mythos Jordan built through sheer dominance and psychological warfare. LeBron stands as a beloved elder statesman. Jordan stood as an immortal force. That difference matters.
LeBron James is like a godfather or an uncle. I'm sure you can relate, Unc. He's like a godfather or an uncle to most of the damn players.
Stephen A. continues by emphasizing that LeBron James is the second greatest player of all time, and that this isn't a knock, it's a compliment. 4-time MVP, 4-time champion, 20-plus years of elite play. These are accolades very few in the history of the game can match. But despite placing him at number 2, many fans and analysts act as though Stephen A. is disrespecting LeBron simply because he doesn't call him the GOAT. This is a reflection of the emotional investment people have in LeBron's story. He came in with immense pressure, lived up to the hype, and stayed consistent for 2 decades. But placing him behind Jordan doesn't take away from that. It simply acknowledges that someone came before who redefined the sport in a way that remains untouched. The pushback to Stephen A.'s stance reveals a broader insecurity in the LeBron camp. If LeBron is the most scrutinized player in history, as many argue, then why does he need constant validation to be viewed as the GOAT? Jordan never had to proclaim his greatness. His peers, his opponents, and history did that for him. Stephen A. isn't downplaying LeBron. He's reminding us that second place in the greatest of all time discussion still puts you on a pedestal few will ever touch.
I mean, this dude is a guy that is a 4-time champion, a 4-time league MVP. I mean, LeBron could hardly look at me and Rich Paul and Maverick and everybody losing their damn mind. I got him number 2 all time.
Stephen A. digs deeper into the frustration he sees from people like Shannon Sharpe and Rich Paul, who take offense to LeBron being ranked below Jordan. He finds the outrage not only unwarranted, but somewhat ridiculous. The fact that LeBron's own representatives and close friends feel the need to push the narrative that LeBron is number one speaks volumes. Jordan never had this issue. He didn't need anyone else to champion his legacy. It stood on its own. The push to elevate LeBron beyond Jordan is as much about media influence as it is about basketball. Stephen A. is pointing out that if someone has to constantly remind the world that they are the greatest, maybe they are not. The debate becomes less about what happens on the court and more about controlling perception. This insistence on putting LeBron first at all costs is what bothers traditionalists like Stephen A., who measure greatness by impact, results, and how peers responded to you in your prime. Jordan's aura was so overwhelming that opponents conceded his superiority. With LeBron, the debate rages on. And perhaps that alone proves the gap.
And that's an insult to people like Shannon Sharp and Rich Paul and these guys. They're ridiculous.
Stephen A. brings up one of the most staggering statistics in NBA Finals history. Jordan never allowed a Finals to reach a Game 7. That speaks to a killer instinct that separated him from everyone else. With LeBron, there have been multiple Game 7s and even losses on the biggest stage. That's not to say he didn't perform. His numbers have been stellar. But the results speak louder. Jordan never let it get that close. Furthermore, Stephen A. points out that even during LeBron's dominance, debates still existed about whether players like Kevin Durant or Kobe Bryant were on his level. That level of questioning never existed during Jordan's reign. It was universally understood that he stood alone. The debates we hear about today didn't apply to Jordan because his performance made the argument irrelevant. This is what Stephen A. means when he says LeBron can never truly be on Jordan's level. Not because he isn't phenomenal, but because even in greatness, he has company. Jordan's greatness was lonely, untouched, and most importantly, unquestioned. That's the gap.
Jordan never even allowed a series to get to a Game 7. He never allowed it to get that close. When you talk about the greatness of LeBron James, times where we've debated, well, is KD on that level? You know, Kobe back in the day, was he on that level? God rest his soul. Others as well.
Stephen A. Smith illustrates a point that highlights the core of this debate. When Michael Jordan was playing, there was no confusion about who the best player in the world was. The narrative was simple and unanimous. It was Michael Jordan versus the entire NBA. He was not placed on the same tier as other greats. He was placed above them. That level of dominance in public opinion is something LeBron James has never quite achieved. Even in LeBron's peak, names like Kobe Bryant, Tim Duncan, and Kevin Durant often surfaced in the same breath. Debates about whether LeBron was the definitive best player in the league were ongoing. That was never the case with Jordan. His position at the top was rarely, if ever, questioned while he was active. The respect Jordan commanded was so overwhelming that even his peers, many of whom are now Hall of Famers, acknowledged his supremacy. When Stephen A. says Jordan was feared, this is what he means. It was a fear rooted not just in his talent, but in the certainty of his success. He was the one-man standard by which all greatness was measured. That's something LeBron, as decorated as he is, has never fully captured. He is admired, he is respected, but he has not achieved that singular, untouchable aura Jordan owned.
Michael Jordan was playing, you know this. Was it not Michael Jordan and everybody else? Did everybody not know it was Michael Jordan?
Here, Stephen A. dives into one of the most important distinctions in the conversation, the difference between respect and fear. Respect is earned through achievements. Fear is earned through dominance and unpredictability. LeBron James has been respected for his skills, his longevity, and his basketball IQ. But he has never been feared in the way Jordan was. Stephen A. points out Jordan's combination of offensive firepower and defensive excellence. He was a perennial scoring champion while simultaneously locking down opposing stars on the defensive end. That two-way mastery created a psychological edge that left opponents defeated before the game even began. Players didn't just worry about Jordan's skills, they worried about how he would embarrass them. That level of mental control over the game is what truly made Jordan different. LeBron, for all his greatness, does not carry that same edge. Players like Steph Curry, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Kevin Durant have gone toe-to-toe with him, and often believed they could win. That belief is the difference. Against Jordan, very few believed. Against LeBron, many still do. Fear is what separates the truly untouchable. And in that category, Jordan stands alone.
And everybody else, there's not a difference between respect and reverence as opposed to fear? Yes, it is. 10-time scoring champion, 9-time All-NBA defensive team player, a 6-time champion, a 5-time NBA Finals MVP.
To close out the analysis, Stephen A. reminds everyone that Michael Jordan didn't just dominate the NBA. He changed the global perception of basketball. He was the gateway for international fans. Stephen A. uses the example of people in Greece who became familiar with the sport because of Jordan. That kind of cultural impact is immeasurable. While LeBron has certainly done incredible things off the court, including building schools and being a global ambassador for social change, his influence stems from personality and activism as much as basketball. Jordan's influence, however, was almost entirely based on what he did on the court. The game itself became synonymous with his name. Nike turned him into a global icon, but it was his competitive fire, his rings, and his style of play that made the world fall in love with basketball. Jordan didn't just elevate the NBA, he globalized it. The fact that Stephen A. brings up Jordan's influence in places like Greece speaks to how deep his reach goes. LeBron is great. LeBron is admired. But Jordan is woven into the cultural DNA of basketball itself. He didn't just play the game. He made the game global.
He's the reason you knew about basketball in Greece, for crying out loud. It's because of Michael Jordan.
Stephen A. Smith does not diminish LeBron James by calling Michael Jordan the greatest of all time. In fact, he calls LeBron the second greatest, a title that still places him above virtually everyone else who has ever touched a basketball. But what separates Jordan is not just the accolades or championships. It is how he made people feel. He was feared, he was respected, and he was unquestioned in his prime. From the mental edge he brought to the court to the global stage he created for basketball, Jordan built a legacy that no one, not even LeBron, has ever truly matched. While LeBron continues to build on his astonishing career, Stephen A.'s argument is that the gap between legend and deity still exists. Jordan did not need social media campaigns or debate shows to validate his greatness. His game did the talking. And to this day, it still speaks louder than anyone else's. That is why Jordan remains the standard, and why LeBron, no matter how long he plays, will always be one tier below. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit that like button, subscribe to NBA Showdown, and let us know in the comments where you stand in this debate. See you in the next one.